KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your Smart Mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey. It is October 12th when we're sitting down to record this. If you're listening to the audio version, it is Friday the 13th of 2020. Scary times. This is Brian. This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. We are going to talk AEW Full Gear. Hanging out with me is Eric, and hanging out Michael from AEW News 1 _ on Instagram. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, not a whole lot. Same old. Today was a big drop for the PS5 on Walmart.com. So my son and I were just about to choke each other trying to get one online because we just the spinning wheel, the loading cart, it's empty, it's in your cart. Yeah, it's frustrating. So
and I take it you
get
didn't
your
get
hands
one.
on a PS5. Holler at me.
I saw people talking about them online on Facebook and stuff, but I didn't realize that was today was the day. I thought they just had came out. What's going on with you, Mike?
Full Gear was this weekend. Watched Dynamite last night. I've been pretty busy. Took a little break from the action today. Watched Free Solo on Amazon Prime with Alex Honnold. It's about him climbing El Cap in Yosemite without any ropes. Absolutely insane. I suggest, that's a crazy movie.
I saw a preview about that on probably must have been on Amazon there when I was scrolling through.
I was on my edge of my seat more than Full Gear. It's called Free Solo, and it's Alex Honnold. Crazy movie. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me again.
Oh, yeah. No problem. Well, I think the main thing on our plate here is AEW Full Gear, so we'll dive into that and start tearing that apart. Before we get into all that, make sure you follow the KayFabe Smark Podcast on Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. We go live. We're doing these now, so we are currently recording this live on YouTube. So get on over there, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, ding, hit the subscribe button. I don't have the animations ready to go. And then we will, you can check out and hang out with that. Make sure you head on over to audibletrial.com/KayFabeSmark. Get a free audiobook, free 30-day trial. Anchor.fm/KayFabeSmark. You can send us voicemails and emails and check out and hang out there. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the KayFabe Smark. Get on, hang out. We're going to keep doing this. Like, subscribe, share. Make sure you go over and like AEW News 1 _ on Instagram. He's going bananas with New Japan, AEW, all that fun stuff. So,
thank you.
What did you guys like? What'd you think? Like it? Hate it? Where we at? Then we'll dive into tearing it apart match by match.
I'm going to say for as long as this was a fucking marathon, boys. This thing was long. I think they could have cut some of it out, left it on the cutting room floor. But it was a good balance. They had some really cheesy things that I hated, but a lot of the matches were actually good matches. So the balance was there, and I think just like you and I spoke about last week, Brian, we kind of look at AEW under a different light than we would criticize a classic wrestling show almost. So it's like, it's AEW. This was their scale.
They get away with it.
Sorry, Michael. I know you're not vested in the company, but
no, I might feel like I am sometimes though.
But this, by no means are they anything like a classic wrestling show. So you have to look at it with a different point of view. Is my point.
Very good. What do you think, Michael?
I had a great time watching it. I thought that out of all the events that they put on in the pandemic era, I think this was definitely the strongest. It was a little long. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was like 11 p.m. I was like, no, I'm kind of tired right now. But really good match quality. And I just, all out kind of, although I liked it, kind of left a bad taste in some people's mouths with some of the things that happened, like the Matt Hardy incident. feel like they fully redeemed themselves after the Full Gear pay-per-view, and I just left pretty happy and just excited for the things to come and for being a fan. So it was a thumbs up in my book.
All right. Well, as we do, we'll just kind of pick at this part bone for bones here on the match for match. So we'll kick it off. First thing was the Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah, this is for the number one contendership for the AEW Championship, the climax of the tournament, if you will. And these two, they have great chemistry. They know how to work together. And, I mean, this was a good match.
First off, I was very surprised that it was the first match that they opened the show with it.
Yeah.
It's a strong opener.
Very strong opener. I just didn't. It just took me by surprise. I thought they'd save that one for a little bit and build, but
could have been the main event.
Very well could have been.
Yeah.
Probably should have been. Well, we'll get into that. Now, we had a special guest commentator sitting in on this was Don Callis.
Mm-hmm.
So he is one of the head muckety mucks. Him and Scott D'Amore run Impact Wrestling. So he's one of the head honchos over there at Impact Wrestling. But he came through the ranks with Kenny Omega through Canada, New Japan, all that jazz. Don did the English commentary with the guy from WWE back in the day. Michael, tell me his name that does the English commentary over there.
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly. That's the guy. I could picture him. I just couldn't come up with the name.
Best guy in the game, in my opinion. I think he's awesome.
Him and Don Callis, and then Don did his stuff over there in ECW and bounced around, and now he is the guy over there. But when I saw that they had brought in Don Callis, I was like, That's like that champion coming out first type thing where it makes you go, something gonna happen here. They got his buddy from Canada coming in to do some guest commentary. I didn't know if they were kind of giving it away a little bit, but
yeah. And Omega said some interesting things to him. Actually, I'm not going to jump the gun too much, but after the match, when they had a little interview with each other, he said, "Let me know if I could do anything at all for you. Seriously, anything at all." And he's got his position as the EVP of Impact Wrestling, so kind of made me think a little bit. Maybe we'll see some talent exchanges in the future between the two promotions.
Yes, I noticed that they had mentioned Impact, right? It wasn't just like, we have Don Callis here.
Yeah, they mentioned Impact.
They mentioned
nice.
Impact. They said you run a good show on Impact, so I'm not opposed to some cross promotions there. Eric, were you in on that? I know some of that super underground New Japan weird stuff you don't pick up on all the time.
No, it did put some thoughts in my head too of kind of on a bigger picture of, is Tony Khan trying to kind of put together a guild, if you will, of the underneath promotions to, as a united front against the WWE. We already know they have a relationship with NWA women's champions and whatnot coming over to the promotion to defend. And now a clear connection, not exactly super strong at the moment, but a bridge has been built with Impact. I think Tony Khan, Don Callis, Kevin Kelly, etc., NWA, Billy Corgan, I think they might be building a united front.
Yes, they've also mentioned New Japan by name a couple times.
I actually have a whole video of that on my channel if you're curious, about 7 reasons why I think a partnership is happening with them.
Yes.
So I delved deep into that. But yeah, you're right. They have been mentioning them by name using footage from the New Japan World Archives. So,
Tanahashi did the thing to Jericho. They've mentioned that stuff. I don't think we'll see a handshake between Ring of Honor and AEW as, the Elite basically raped and pillaged Ring of Honor and went and made the thing called
they're done.
made the exact same organization, just called it AEW. So those poor bastards. But that company was just kind of run very strangely and oddly, anyways. So that's a whole nother show in and of itself. But start off this pay-per-view with this match. What do you guys think of the match? Where you at? Any high spots, low spots, good spots? Eric, what did you like? What you hate?
Well, right off the get go, I think JR's been going rogue lately, man. I think he's getting bored over there. Like it or not, JR is a classic wrestling commentator who's been in the game for 40 years or so. I don't really think in his heart of hearts AEW is his cup of tea. He just seems condescending almost when he's asking about Kenny Omega's broom gimmick and the cleaner thing. It's like, come on, JR. You know about Kenny Omega. You know he's the cleaner in Japan. And he asks about it. And just to make it worse, the explanation that we get from Excalibur is just some off the wall video game story about blowing into cartridges. And I hope to God that's not the real story, because what a shitty way to come up with a gimmick.
Michael, do you have any input on that? If that's the true, like the video game thing, I never took it as that. That was the first time I'd ever heard that.
No, well, he's kind of right. I mean, the cleaner gimmick's based off of a final boss in a video game. So Kenny draws a lot of influence from games instead of wrestling.
I'll give him that. But saying that he blew into the cartridges to play the video games, like he was the best video game cleaner in his neighborhood, was pretty whack.
Yeah, I don't know why JR even brought it up. I mean, he definitely knows who he is. He was a commentator in New Japan. I love the match. It was an excellent match in my opinion. But you have some casual fans who weren't up on the Japanese promotion, which is totally understandable because it's a pain in the ass to watch sometimes. And you kind of just didn't give a really, and either Don Callis did it too. They didn't clearly explain the gimmick and why these girls are coming out with brooms. Who's the heel or who's the baby face. I think it just needed a little bit more explanation, and none of them did that. And if they want people to buy into Kenny Omega, they need to be a little bit more clear with that. Having said that, the match was good, but it was just a little odd. I think I agree with Eric that part was weird.
Yeah. Sometimes I think Excalibur just says things to hear himself speak, but that's again a whole nother thing. Let me see. I had a couple of the spots here. That pop-up power bomb onto the ramp. That
was nice. Yeah.
That was pretty devastating move there. I thought that was pretty good. I liked the match overall. I thought it was good. There was a couple spots where it was like super. It was like it was just too choreographed, produced. You know what I'm saying? Right to the spot. Hangman's getting ready to go do his buckshot lariat, and Kenny's right there with his V trigger, right with the knee, right? And it was just the timing was a little too perfect. It didn't look enough organic for me, but other than that, I don't want to get too picky on it. There's a few spots, but overall, man, I like the match. Other than Paul Turner being the referee, it was good. No, my hatred for Paul Turner.
It transcends to every show. But I'm with you on it being a good match, where we've been watching Kenny Omega. Even if you weren't into New Japan, you've been watching him on TNT for the past year.
Mm-hmm.
We know what to expect from a Kenny Omega match, and he delivers. He never fails to deliver on that. I would absolutely love to see Kenny Omega. It's not going to happen, but to see him get some training from some classic training from WWE trainers like over in NXT or whatever, because his fundamentals are a little shoddy. For example, you got Adam Page on the outside of the ring and Kenny Omega setting up for a tope suicida. He's standing in the middle of the ring. Instead of just bouncing off the ropes behind him and hitting the tope, he runs halfway across the ring towards Adam Page, bounces off the ropes, runs all the way across to the other side of the ring, bounces off the ropes, runs back all the way across the ring to do the suicida, and somehow, some way, Adam Page is still standing there ready to catch him. And it's just like,
well, he was never actually trained,
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and that's why I said he's got star power. He's clearly athletic. He's got charisma out the ass. I would just love to see him in a wrestling school for a little while. And Brian and I spoke about that, how these guys only wrestle once a week unless they have independent spots, where I wish Tony Khan would get some formal trainers in there. I mean, he has some with Tully and Arn, and just run classes throughout the week. There's no shame in tightening up your fundamentals,
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting. No, I agree. Overall, very good match. Again, back to the spots, but Michael, you got anything you want to dive into and tear apart before we move on?
Sure. I think when he came over here, he was kind of used to a different audience, and they like some of that cinematic anime type wrestling. I'm not going to say he needs to go back to wrestling school, but I think he could tweak his move set a little bit for an American audience that's really not used to or into some of the stuff that he does. But having said that, I like some of the V triggers were really nice. Heyman was dominating for most of the match. I was really pulling for Heyman, so I was impressed with him. I thought he was really the star of the show. Adam Page, the One Wing Angel to end it all. We saw Heyman really fighting out of that. Kind of sold the move as devastating. If you get hit by it, you're done. And he did get hit by it and got pinned. Kenny crowned the winner of the Eliminator tournament. I wish the tournament did have a name, something a little bit cooler than the Eliminator tournament, and a trophy or something to carry a little bit more prestige. I think that would have really made the cake for me as it just would have been cooler if it was, yeah.
Something that they could have turned into a yearly thing.
Yep.
A la King of the Ring, if you will, back in the day. So it could have been something along those lines where this was the Full Gear. It led up to Full Gear every year, and that was the opening match of Full Gear is this tournament, and to carry on and go from there. That is something they could have started some tradition with that they don't have tradition yet, so I think they need to start creating that.
Yeah, agreed.
They're getting lost in that. Where do you think Adam Page goes from here? What do you think his plan is? Is he just going to keep – are they going to go for like a gimmick change? Are they going to go for keep pushing him in this way that they're doing? Have him chase Kenny for the title? If and when Kenny gets a title, or where do you think they just take Adam Page from here?
I was really hoping that he would come out on top.
Yes.
Because then I think that would have set up Kenny for, his kind of half heel turn. Didn't quite work out. If he lost, then he could have said, wow, that didn't work out, gone full heel cleaner, and then, really kicked him in the butt, lit a fire under him. I don't know. Heyman doesn't really have much left. And he had a weird BTE segment with the Dark Order. So I have no idea, to be honest. He said if he lost this match, he would be left with nothing, and now he lost. So I'm not sure.
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a different take on it, almost like a conspiracy theory take with, I think we're right around that 1 year mark. I think we're kind of at the point where the Elite said, all right, we'll spend the first year putting people over, and then we're going to get the titles, because we know what happens with the tag team titles later on in the night. Kenny Omega obviously is setting up to win the title. I think we're kind of going to get a Elite stronghold on the belts here. But I'm going to have to disagree on Adam Page being left with nothing. I think the one thing that still keeps him in contention or with a possible feud with Omega is the fact that he lost to the One-Winged Angel, because nobody kicks out of the One-Winged Angel.
That's true.
So I think that gives him something to strive for, and possibly a way to get the title in the future. But as far as the bumps in this match, I think there is that bump on the ramp, just not to sound like an old fart, but it just seemed really irresponsible. Kenny Omega taking a flat back bump on a solid stage like that, I'd be surprised if he didn't get a concussion from that. And I think they definitely could have used a spot that big for an injury angle or anything, but instead they just continue with the match. And Omega ends up winning the One-Winged Angel. I think the power bomb on the ramp could have been used as a little more devastating than it was. It was just another move in the match. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. All right. Anybody else got anything? Because I think we can just kind of keep trucking along here. I think what was our next match here was John Silver.
John Silver versus Orange Cassidy.
All right, Eric.
Is anyone else getting that notification in the left of their screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what happened to that, so I was just going to say we might have an issue here in a moment, but we will figure it out and keep it rolling. So if you guys want to keep on chatting, I'll see what I can get going here.
All right. Well, this is going to go with my original statement at the top of the hour here. This pay-per-view was very, very long, and this was something that definitely could have been left on the cutting room floor. You'll be happy or maybe not happy, but you'll be all right in a minute, Michael. It was a good match. I don't like Orange Cassidy, but when he wants to work, he can work. John Silver, I think, is completely underrated. But at this point, no one really cares about him. And I think because Orange Cassidy was handpicked by Tony Khan, and Tony Khan loves him, as we could see by all the main events that he's been in over the past couple months or so with TNT championships, AEW championships and whatnot. I think the luster is kind of worn off for Orange Cassidy, but Tony Khan just still wants to keep him in the heavy rotation. But I think this was a match. If you had to cut a match off this card, it would have either been this one or probably the Nyla Rose one.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Michael, what do you think? I know were you digging this match?
Yeah, I really like this match, and I agree with some of the things that you said about Cassidy, but I had to dissent a little bit about John Silver. I feel like he's one of the guys recently in the last couple of months that has really built a following and a fan base, a pretty heavy fan base, just from his BTE segments, his appearances in the Dark Order, and his things on Dynamite. I feel like he's becoming a star and someone in the division that people really, really do like. I think he's the most popular member of the Dark Order, and I stand by that. I think he's more over than Mr. Brody Lee. He's just so funny and such a great character. It wasn't really that much hype built into this match. Maybe if we had to take away a match, maybe I would agree with that. But, we had Silver interfering on Cody's behalf in the TNT Championship match against Orange Cassidy. So I think that's why they just put it. But, I'm glad to see John Silver get some pay-per-view experience because it's cool to see somebody who started out on AEW in a vignette with the Dark Order and Mr. Brody Lee kind of treating Silver like he was a nobody. He didn't even have a name originally. And now he's on a pay-per-view card in a matter of months. I think that's just a cool crescendo up to the top. And I really appreciated seeing him. He's got some great moves. He's strong, man. He is a pit bull.
He's as strong as an ox. And
yeah.
But you mentioned Brody Lee. Any idea where Brody Lee's been lately?
Oh man,
I was wondering the same thing.
Rochester.
He's just hanging out.
I had no idea. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll agree with you. John Silver, fantastic worker, strong as an ox. We saw that with the one-handed gorilla press there.
I mean, that was crazy.
I almost think he belongs in a more traditional wrestling promotion. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing him on national TV, and he is tremendously underrated. And I was unaware of his following through being the Elite and whatnot. So definitely from your words, he's going to be someone I'll keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think he's going to go over. I think if there was fans back, he'd be getting cheered out the building, to be honest, because he's just so golden. And this is with the core AEW fan base. The casual fan probably doesn't know that much about Mr. Silver, but there was one spot that hold was crazy, but then there was a sequence of like 30 seconds where they were just reversing everything on each other, and it was nuts. Go look up some of his stuff. He had a match with Cage and Pro Wrestling Gorilla, and he like manhandled Brian Cage. So this guy, pound for pound, is like the strongest one in AEW for sure.
Yeah, the guy's a beast. I think it's just kind of a crappy gimmick at the moment, but they're gonna hopefully they can build upon that.
And just the complete clash of styles with Cassidy really playing up the almost cartoony aspect of pro wrestling, and John Silver being strong and traditional. Just in my eyes, it seemed to clash a lot, especially with John Silver playing into it with Orange Cassidy teasing that he was going to put his hands in his pockets, and John Silver screaming no at him. John Silver playing into the soft play kicks, ripping Orange Cassidy's pockets off. You just see so much potential in John Silver to be a real believable hard ass in this company, and he's just playing backyard wrestling with Orange Cassidy, and it was just a little disappointing.
Yes, I agree. All right, we are going to have to take a small technical break, and we will be right back as I got to figure this out. And boys, I may have to. I'll hit you up here in a second, but I'm probably gonna have to disconnect for a half a second. All right.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Stop this. All right, after that little technical difficulty, we are back. Sorry about that, folks, and we're going to continue on talking about this John Silver Orange Cassidy match. What do you guys think of this? Where are we going with this?
Well, where we left off, I was just explaining my point of view that Orange Cassidy's kind of cartoon play style, I thought it clashed hard with John Silver's tough guy workhorse style. But yeah, that was all I really had to say, and I was going to kick it over to Michael to see what his opinion was.
Yeah, I gave my opinion before about John Silver. So, again, I'm happy to see him on the national level on a pay-per-view card. I think, his rise is really, really interesting. And if any of you are curious about that, you haven't really seen much of him, to watch some of the episodes or any really episode of Being the Elite recently. And he always has his own, segment, multiple segments on every show. So you kind of get the idea of the character of who he is. But really, really awesome moves from Silver. I love his finishing maneuver where it's kind of like a 360 toss, and he hit that on Orange Cassidy. So he just really showed his power in this match, and I was impressed. And then we saw Orange hit the Orange Punch, Stun Dog Millionaire, and the Beach Break to get the pinfall victory. So, nice wrap up to the match. And, I didn't think it hurt the card, but I don't think it really helped either. I think it maybe elevated Silver for the most part.
I can see that.
Yes. All right. Let me see. Turn my headphones back up a touch as I lost a little hearing there. All right. Well, we can continue on with this pay-per-view. Keep yakking about it here.
Yeah, I think next, unless we had something in the middle, we rolled right into Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship, right?
That's what I have on my notes. So we can continue on here with that. Cody Rhodes, Darby Allin. You get JR says, first time in a long time we've heard Cody Rhodes besides when I screw it up. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that. He does screw it up a lot. I love the guy, but he called Jake Hager swagger before. He's had a couple gaffes.
Yeah, he still calls Trent Beretta. But
yeah, I feel like that's trademarked by New Japan. They should stop doing that.
Yeah, probably.
What did you think about Darby's entrance?
It's Darby Allin. I mean, if you want to make it make sense, I don't really get it. He lives in Washington, but he drove this beat up old Hyundai or whatever the hell it is that's got the windshield painted like his face.
Well, it had.
Yeah, I don't know
the gimmick.
And why would you smash your own windshield after you get to the match?
And then it had the face of the network or the face of TNT spray painted on it.
I think that's where I think that's where he was living while he was with Evolve in the car.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah. He said on the Unrestricted podcast that he wasn't going to move into a normal house until he made it in the wrestling industry. So, I don't get the whole spray paint thing, but I think that's his like original car that maybe he was staying in. But unique, I like this guy because he just does what he wants. He's his own character. He's unlike anyone else really, and he's creative. If he wants to do it, because it's him. He's real. He's not fake, and he wants to do it. And he came out there with his own little twist on it, and he just looked like a real unique guy. And he kind of encompassed the true underdog for me when he got to the ring. He didn't have much of a chance when Cody's music hit and that whole Prince of Pro Wrestling epic prelude, the whole Nightmare Family comes out. It was like David Goliath.
Right. That's a really good metaphor. And then now that you mentioned that he used to live in his car, him smashing the windshield of the car, also a great metaphor of he's breaking through the walls. He's made it. He's big time.
Yeah, I'm out this piece.
I should have explained that though.
Yeah, thank God we have Michael from AEW News 1 here, or I'd still be in the dark.
It's kind of an underlying theme with AEW on how that tends to be something that always happens, that they need to explain a little more and not assume that we know. I do love their product, and I hate it in the same sentence sometimes. So that's what drives me nuts, is that they let some of that go. We have longtime WWE referee Mike Chioda is the referee here, so
that's awesome.
He was let go during pandemic times, and now has popped his head into AEW. Third match, fourth match, something like that he's refereed. But nonetheless, good old Chioda. Don't know if he'll ever stick around for a long time, but nonetheless, good to see a face that can be a referee in the ring and hold some type of order, as some referees in AEW are lacking.
I don't know what you're talking about. I personally think Paul Turner is the best thing that's ever happened to AEW.
Paul Turner.
What was the other guy? Mike Posney?
I'm thinking of Rick Knox.
Oh, he's the best, though. I mean, I think you got to go look up the video of when the Young Bucks offered him a contract. They went to an indie show and surprised him with a AEW contract, and he started crying. It's pretty. He's the one guy I really respect out there.
I like
this shit should be on TV. Something like that. That's something that's entertaining.
I like Aubrey Edwards for a referee there at AEW. She does pretty well, but nonetheless, we have Cody Rhodes taking on Darby Allin. I don't have many notes for this match, as I kind of just enjoyed it and sat back and kind of got lost in the moment of jotting down my notes, as I've mentioned previously. If I don't have a lot to say, I was just kind of lost in the moment. So, but anybody have anything that they would like to get into about it? We can pontificate on this.
Cody's entourage. I think he could have trimmed that back just a tad.
He had a no limit 1999 music video awards entourage.
Well, he had about 20 people with him, and
he loves
that having that entourage at the beginning kind of messes up what happened at the end, because it kind of throws off. Oh, this doesn't make sense here. I'll get into it after we talk about the match a little bit. But Darby Allin, he put on a clinic as an underdog, as a sympathetic babyface. He was selling like crazy. Cody's just beating his ass like a heel, and you couldn't help but feel bad for Darby and to root for him to come back and kick the shit out of Cody Rhodes.
For sure.
Right. Mike, you want to get anything over there, Michael?
I mean, I completely agree with what Eric just said. There was one spot where Darby was like on his knees looking up to Cody, and he just looked so beat up. He had the whole face paint on. He just looked like an oddball in the ring, getting his ass handed to him, and you felt really bad for him, and you were pulling for him. And then we had Cody a couple weeks ago saying he's never going to turn his back on fans. He's, he's a baby face, and he's going to be that forever. But then he comes out with the entourage, with the music. He's doing push-ups in the ring. He's being a jerk, and he's turning heel by himself without really saying or doing anything. He's going to get the fans to turn on him by his actions. But yeah, Darby, really easy to root for. I loved some of his maneuvers. He never gave up. And JR mentioned how hard it is to keep Darby Allin down, just how tough he is. And, we saw that during this match. I thought this match was actually stronger than the Omega Page match, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought this match was one of the best on the cards, and I'd love to see it. Amazing ending, too, which just such sportsmanship in the ring. I loved every minute of this, and I'm glad for Darby to get out there.
I was happy with the whole match itself. As you spoke about, I was noticing the same thing with this Cody heel turn feel going on in the match. But as we proceed through the match, he does his push-ups. He's changing his style a little bit. But the ending, kind of jump ahead maybe a little bit here, but the ending was, I think, one of the best ways for this to end. Meaning, Darby won, but he didn't beat Cody.
Mm-hmm.
There's
the
that
ace.
there's that difference. He didn't beat up Cody. He won. He stole a victory. Now, where I'm going with this is Cody did all of these things, right? He came out with the entourage, the push-ups, everything that we talked about, being very heel-like, except for the ending. I thought that's where the heel needed to be. I thought we needed to have a Prince of Pro Wrestling temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Literally throwing a temper tantrum where he's pounding the ground and he's kicking rocks, and you know what I'm saying? That whole 5-year-old mentality of I'm the guy, how did you beat me? But he does even if he hands the title over in a sportsmanship way, there should have been a fit. He should have thrown a fit. Arn Anderson should have calmed him down and said, we got him next time. We'll get it again. Ba 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 ba. And then had him come over and even begrudgingly hand the belt over. I've made I got 5 and 6-year-olds. I've made them do things and apologize to each other or to other people. And I'm sorry. They'll give you that whole, fuck you, Dad. I'm doing it just because you told me to, not because I want to. And that's what we should have saw from Arn Anderson and Cody. I don't know if anybody else kind of can dig in on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think Cody Rhodes has the potential to be the top heel in the company by far, but he's not sticking with it. He did every heel tactic in the book during the match, every taunt you could think of, but after the match, he's this clear stand-up American sportsman. I think he should just stick with being a heel. And as far as, I'm just going to disagree with you on this one, Brian, that Darby Allin, obviously he won the match, and he hit the coffin drop, but he didn't win with the coffin drop. I think Cody's goal, at least for the past year, has been to get people over, and I think Darby Allin would have gotten over even more if he would have won this match with his finishing move rather than scrambling and just stealing the win at the end.
Well, there you go. We'll just see how it goes. I thought that overall I was very happy with this, and I thought they could have tweaked a few things, but I'm going to stick with it, that I give this match a big old thumbs up, and I don't have too much more to say about it. I just thought the ending could have been a little different for me, even with the same ending. They just could have changed a little few things up. But anybody got any last words on this before we just keep on rolling here?
Good match, and I'm happy to see some homegrown AEW talent get the belt, because I'm getting tired of hearing about the ex-WWE guys signed to the company. So
right. And then,
this is good.
What about the finish there? Or not the finish, but the finale with the run-ins?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we're going to dig into that. Team Taz joins Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Obviously do run-ins, kick the shit out of Arn Anderson, Cody, and Darby Allin here. And this is where the entourage comes into play. Out of the 25 people that walked to the ring with Cody Rhodes, not one of them sorry sacks of shit made it down to help them too.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's like, what's some shitty friends there? Don't you there, Cody?
And then you had Brian Cage taking Darby out to the middle of the floor there, if you will, looking for somewhere to throw him, and he looked a little lost and a little confused. I don't know if he was ahead of his spot or he forgot his spot. I'm not sure which way it went, but God bless him. They eventually got it done where they tossed him right into that full gear display box stage prop thing that they had going on. So, and then they take him up to the car, right? And they get him on there, and they're going to try and break his arm in the car. They're going to slam his arm through the door or the window and all that jazz.
I think Willie Hobbs was running a little late on this spot, don't you?
Yeah.
Will Hobbs either forgot he was supposed to go, somebody didn't cue him, he got lost, his shoe came untied. I'm not sure what happened, but nonetheless, Willie Hobbs came out eventually to save the day. You could tell that Ricky Starks and Brian Cage were kind of killing time, and maybe even Darby Allin was helping out a little bit by pulling his arm out of that situation a couple times, 1-2 times, just like, nope, try again, nope, I'm going to fight my way through it. What do you think of this Will Hobbs guy? Michael, do you know much about this Will Hobbs fella? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know nothing about him until he popped up in AEW. I've even tried to look up some information on him and just at a loss of who the hell Will Hobbs is and what he's done.
Yeah, not much. I mean, I think he's relatively new to the ring, but he's just gotten himself over on Dark. He was one of the guys that were brought in as like independent talent to kind of have an AEW tryout on Dark, and I guess just won over the fans by having consistently good matches. He's powerful. So he got a full contract to AEW. And then, Taz is the commentator on AEW Dark, so he's been scouting Will Hobbs. And then I guess they made the transition. We built this guy up on Dark, and, let's pair him with Moxley, give him that push on Dynamite, and now a pay-per-view. So OG homegrown AEW talent, maybe one of the first, because, Darby is, but he was with Evolve first. I don't know what this guy was with. He's literally AEW.
Yeah,
so
I tried doing some internet research on him and was coming up with not much information on Will Hobbs, but he just has been just kind of an independent wrestler, I guess. So what I knew about him is about what he has been. And then, was there anything else on this that we want to talk about?
Well, there's a little tension between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks in the ring a little bit before the Darby Allin spot with the arm break and whatnot. They both get their hands on that TNT championship belt, and they have a little mini tug of war there for a moment on who deserves to go after Darby Allin and get this title shot. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think they should just kind of go in a different direction and give it to Tessa Blanchard since she beat Brian Cage clean. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
It should be Ricky. Rick, yeah. That is a stain on his career.
I shoehorn that in every show. So.
Every show, he gets it in somehow that Brian Cage lost clean to Tessa Blanchard. And then I also sent him a video on Instagram today of him losing to, was it John Silver?
John Silver.
So I thought maybe you could start working that in as well.
That's the PWG match I think I was just talking about. But Ricky's really outshined Brian, and that's been a problem. So you saw 100%. On Dynamite, they had Brian Cage kind of show what he could do with Matt Sydal recently. Yeah, but Ricky got completely over, and he's popular, and he's awesome. He's a full package, and I think everybody really likes Ricky. I think Ricky's just maybe a step below Darby with his popularity. So, I don't know. Team Taz, it's interesting, but Ricky's just elevated. And even Taz on Dark, they asked him, who do you get along with more, Brian or Ricky? And he immediately said Ricky. So Brian Cage, I don't know. He's kind of in an awkward spot right now with that title. Should it be Ricky's? Should it even be there?
Here's a question for you we got into last week, and since we've mentioned AEW Dark, kind of an offshoot. We'll get back on track here in a moment. Do you think that they should have more flashback moments and things that happened on AEW Dark when it comes to Dynamite, Michael?
So 1 million%.
I know you're not a WWE, WWF guy now at the moment or whatever, but I'm sure at some point you watched, one of the big three growing up through the 90s of some kind, right? Some WCW, ECW, or whatever. So even ECW would throw back to what happened at house shows because they only got their small TV shows, so they would have things. The storyline actually evolved through their house shows, so they would throw it back to who said what where. Same thing in WWE. They would have when Superstars was still relevant, when Raw was coming up, they'd go, this happened on Superstars. And they'd show Raw, and Raw would happen on Superstars. They never give you that, and then they have a storyline change on Dark. Bunny, jumping shit back over, and then they throw it on Dynamite, and I go, all right, I guess she's back on that team now. I didn't know that happened. So just something we were talking about. I didn't know if you agree or disagree.
I 100% agree. There's this really good guy, Meeks from the United Kingdom, WrestleManiac UK on Instagram, and we had a discussion about this, and a lot of the stuff happens, some of the stuff happens on Dark, a lot of it happens on BTE, specifically like the Hangman Page story.
Right.
And if you haven't watched that, you'd be kind of confused, and they don't do a great job of recapping it. A lot of the way that people find out about it is because Meltzer in his Wrestling Observer newsletter details everything that happened in the trio of events, and then Dynamite. That needs to be incorporated onto AEW's programming, because there are people that are just tuning in maybe for the first time, or they're casual fans, and they are lost. And that's how you drive them to the other product, which I know they're not trying to do.
I agree. So, all right, well, we all agree, so I like that. So I'm not crazy. We're not crazy. We have the same idea going on, that they should have more of a wrap-up type thing going on. All right, Brian Cage out there, Will Hobbs, yada, yada, yada. Anything on that before we jump on to this Shida-Nyla match?
No, that's all I had on that.
Yeah, me too. So we're going to move to Shida-Nyla Rose, right?
I like this one. I'm impressed. I'm not going to lie. I know you guys are going to disagree, but
all right, well then we'll let you run with it first. So let's start with all the positives. Where are you at, Michael?
Yeah.
I was disappointed when this match got put on the card. I was like, there's no build-up. What the hell are they doing? You don't give Shida any TV time. We got a little bit of build-up on the Go Home show with Vicky Guerrero and Shida. But, when they got out into the ring, I thought that they performed exceptionally well, both of them. Shida was very impressive. She lifted up Nyla Rose twice. She's not a light person at all. Got a Falcon Arrow in. We saw some dirty playing on the outside with Vicky Guerrero and the Cane, some near falls, both of them pulling each other up on the 2 count to really inflict punishment. A lot of people that I was talking to were like, I'm going to go take a bathroom break because I don't really care about this right now. Then they started watching and they're like, I'm actually surprised. This is pretty entertaining. And I thought it was a solid women's performance. And if I'm going to stack it up to their first encounter at Double or Nothing, I'm going to go with this encounter. This was a lot better. I really liked it.
I can agree with the second part that it was definitely better than the part 2 was better than part 1, right? So I'm with you there. I thought just in kind of that AEW thing, I just notice it now. It's one of those things for me, and it drives me nuts when just outside way too long. Outside the ring for way too long. Nobody's breaking the counts. The referee slow on the counts and not breaking. There's not even the roll through the ring, the roll in, roll out. Randy Orton, very famous for that, WWE. So those things kind of bug me, but
you know why they're doing that?
To take away from traditional or the old school or the changing of the ways or what? Or I know ROH in New Japan was a 20 count.
Yeah, I think it's based on the 20 count, and it's based on Red Shoes Uno in New Japan, and a lot of the referees there will let things slide and not start the count if it's high stakes. They'll let people get hit with chairs and let them run around the arena and not call them out. And I think that they incorporated that into AEW, which I'm not really that big of a fan of either. So it's kind of just like a knockoff from that, because I guess we're supposed to elevate the stakes. They can't stop the match because the women's title's on the line.
I agree with that. I agree with the story that they've made with Red Shoes in New Japan. And, I've watched plenty of New Japan, so you see that, but I was already built aware of it. So they would, Kevin Kelly would fill you in, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Don Callis would fill you in and go, Red Shoes is going to let this one go. He's letting them get away with murder out there tonight. The commentators in AEW aren't on the same page to what the story, sometimes what's being told in the ring versus what is happening, where they need to fill us in on, and they need to tell us and say, hey, this is what's happening. We're letting things slide. The referee, this referee's been known to, we're gonna let it roll tonight, and they'll get order back in the ring here eventually, and then start the count. Or all right, he's calling for the count now. Now they got to count of 10 to get back in the ring. That'd be fine, but just roll with
It's just too high stakes to stop. I would have loved to hear that to put the women's title up a little more.
We wouldn't have had this conversation if they would have said that. Because I've come into some matches where you go, well, it's a John Moxley match. There's no rules gonna apply, and then luckily they go more times than not. Lately they go, there's a gimmick to the match, and you go, well, okay, cool. They already said it before I'm supposed to figure this out on my own of what the hell's happening. So, Eric, where are you at on this Shida Nyla Rose match?
Now, I seem to complain about AEW a lot. And Michael asked me during our technical difficulty break what my top promotion was, and surprisingly, I said AEW. To explain that further, I love the potential and the talent that's in AEW. When FTR came over there, I was over the moon. Nyla Rose, I wasn't really digging her at first, namely because of the controversy that surrounded her when she first came in. But her potential is to be an extreme monster heel, but in this match, she's just absolutely getting the shit kicked out of her at the end of this match by someone half her size. I feel Nyla could have saved a little face if she would have laid down and did business off that top rope Falcon Arrow that Shida gave her. It would be a big, devastating move. And then Nyla Rose could come back from that. But instead, we get Shida pulling her up like she's a jobber on Superstars, continuing to kick the shit out of her, and then just laying down on top of her. And it takes Nyla Rose from being up here as a monster heel to down here as somebody who just got the shit kicked out of him by a 125-pound Japanese girl. And it's just kind of like, it's frustrating to see potential like that get flushed down the toilet.
Well, I can't disagree with that either. Where I stand on this was kind of what you started off with, Michael, that there wasn't enough lead-in for me. I didn't know where this match came from. I didn't know too much about it. It just was kind of slapped onto the card. So either it got lost for me in the weekly, or it just wasn't laid out enough for me in the weekly stuff on the shows, or it was on Dark or something. And
it wasn't anywhere.
Mix. Okay, so
really.
it was just, so I didn't know if I was missing something, or if I was just or if they messed, or it was something like that. So for me to get totally invested into a match, I need that story. At least give me like 2 weeks of what's going down and why it's kind of happening and what we're looking for here.
At least.
Right, so we go on and push through the ending here. You get a Shida wins and retains. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Yeah, I forgot to exactly write down the winner there in my notes here. And then afterwards, we had a little argument inside the ring
with Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose here. And my takeaway from this was that they turned the mics up a little bit just to capture the essence of Vicky Guerrero and her screaming, and had a little flub there where you hear as clear as day Nyla Rose go, slap me. And then Vicky Guerrero proceeds to slap the living shit out of her, and Nyla Rose is just absolutely stunned. And it just takes you out of the moment, but it is what it is.
Do you guys watch Botchamania on YouTube?
Sometimes.
I haven't seen it in a minute.
They do a whole segment called You Talk Too Much, and it's when you can hear the ring talk, and I'm pretty positive when I tune into the next show that they put together that that'll be inside there, because you could read the lips and see it, but nonetheless, I know it's all staged and put together. Here's something that I've been having another issue with AEW. You're a $1 million company. You've got millions of dollars invested in this company to create this pay-per-view, to create this brand, to create everything about it. Grab a microphone. Why are we not using microphones to build up and talk about these promos? Why didn't she grab the microphone and go in the ring and do her "excuse me" and take a page out of I know WWE does it, so I don't know if they're doing this stuff to not do that. But you needed to tell the story now. She needed to berate Nyla Rose on a live microphone so that we at home could hear it, the people in the arena could hear it, and then slap her. It could have been the same exact thing. It needed to be her doing that. It happened last week with Kenny and Hangman in the ring. They didn't get a microphone when they're having their discussion about their match. This is the time they're supposed to be selling to me on free TV to get me over to the pay-per-view. And then on the pay-per-view, they still don't continue to tell me the story to tune in on Wednesday to figure out what the hell happened. Grab a microphone and say it out loud. That's my little grief with that.
Yeah, they have a lack of microphones for some reason.
Lack
but
of using them.
I'm surprised Nyla just took that and didn't hit her back or anything. So kind of felt bad for her at the end.
I think they're going to tell some story that she looks up to her and needs her and looks at her as some type of figure, and it's going to grow from there. So that's my takeaway on that. Anything?
Yeah.
I got nothing else on that. Anybody want to fill in anything else, or we rolling through it?
Just to touch on what Michael just said, Nyla Rose not retaliating against Vicky Guerrero, just kind of buried her just a little bit more, just threw a couple thimbles more dirt on top of her, and hopefully they find a way for her to dig herself out of this and become the monster she can be.
Agreed. Up next, Matt Hardy, and Sammy Guevara.
I've got FTR versus the Young Bucks next.
Okay. Well, my notes are... No, go ahead.
No. Yeah, that's right.
FTR Young Bucks?
Yep.
All right, my shit just might be out of order here. All right, FTR Young Bucks. The match, Eric's got the... you got to say no corona after you cough these days.
Oh, yeah, no corona.
We're doing this very socially distanced. I'm in a different county than Eric, and Michael's in a different state than us, so we're all good.
Yeah.
Cough all you want, Eric.
Oh, they're rare. Okay, we switched over to Google, and I didn't know where the mute button is, but I just found it. So, yeah, I'll admit that.
Nonetheless, let's roll on here. Young Bucks, FTR, the match that everyone's been talking about, the match that supposedly everybody's been wanting for years. I wasn't aware of that everybody had been dying for it for years, besides the fact that they say it every week. But nonetheless, I can see why it would be said. I liked it. I liked this match. I thought it was good. Eric, you want to start leading us off with what you thought?
On the surface, I can 100% agree with you. Just from the get-go, even the wardrobe designer, man, hit this right on the head with the Young Bucks dressed in the purple and gold, like the Lakers, and the FTR here in the white and green, like the Celtics, the two biggest dynasties in the NBA.
Wow, that's some digging deep thinking there, because that didn't even roll past my brain.
That's Brandon Cutler's wife who makes the costumes for them too.
Oh, okay, good call on that. And I'm a goof too, because I didn't notice it right off the get-go. I think Excalibur, of all people, brought that up, the Lakers Celtics theme. But I thought Tully being banned from ringside, especially after escorting FTR down to the ring, I felt that was a little forced when they had to explain it. It just seemed like, really, for grabbing a guy's leg here and there. Tully hasn't done anything exceptionally beyond what a heel manager is supposed to do. So by forcing him to be banned from ringside, that got my hopes up that Tully was going to make another appearance towards the end of this match and screw the Bucks. And that's what I was hoping. And unfortunately, I was disappointed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was disappointed. Michael, I know you're a Young Bucks fan, but I'm going to also assume you're a FTR fan, as a fan of AEW overall in general. So where did you stand on this match? Were you torn down the middle?
Oh, man, I love FTR. I really think they're a talented tag team, but oh, man, this was so good. I'm so happy for the Young Bucks finally getting the win. I wrote down out of 5. I'll just show you that right there. Got a 5.25. stars. I thought this match, and I think it'll be correspondent in the Meltzer rating too. I really think that this was one of the greatest tag matches of all time. I'm not going to say it was the number one like we saw at Revolution, which did yield the highest rating, but man, this was crazy. I thought that there was so much depth in the storytelling. I loved how the Young Bucks really focused on ground and mat wrestling for a good 15 to 20 minutes instead of their high flying lucha libre self. They really were just ground and pound mat wrestling with FTR, and FTR they came out with some amazing moves. I mean, we saw Cash Wheeler spear head first through the second and top rope right into Nick Jackson. We saw Cash grab Matt, slam him through a table, take his shoe off. I mean, there were near falls. I had no idea who was going to win. It was just spectacular match. By far the match of the night for me. And, if the pay-per-view ended after that match, I would have been happy. I think it was everything we wished for, and just so emotional at the end with the Bucks crying, saying it was the biggest accomplishment ever. I mean, I marked out a little bit for this match. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, well, I was right there with you as a mark myself. I was scared for this match going into it that I could be let down.
Yeah,
that it wasn't going to be the match that it should be. But I think they gave us the match that it was supposed to be, the match that it could be. They did what they could do and what it was. I like that, again, what you said, Michael, that we saw the Young Bucks going to the ground, but we also saw FTR leaving their feet.
Yeah.
We saw that flipping around. So I enjoyed that. I thought that, you're going to get the Young Bucks moves in their matches. So you're going to get their standard go-to super kicks and the goodbye on the outside of the ring with the short kicks to the face and the one where they do
the leg slaps,
the big leg slap moves, the head scissors, and then when Matt or Nick, run up the other brother and kick him in the face, and all those moves that kind of brought him to the dance and made him famous on the internet. You're going to get in a Young Bucks match. We got them. I liked it. They didn't do all of them though in a row. It wasn't a set list of moves. It was they'd get their spot in, and then they'd maybe take it to the ground, or they were outside the ring. And
they didn't hit the Meltzer driver either. Their finisher.
They threatened it a couple times, I believe, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, it got countered too, and then we saw Cash attempt a 450, which was downfall of FTR. I mean, they didn't follow Tully's playbook. They didn't follow their own rules. They got cocky and said, these guys want to go high up in the air. We're going to go high up in the air. He did that, and it screwed them. But it was so cool to see. That man is so athletic, and he's impressive. Cash Wheeler is a star. Cash Dash, whatever you want to call him.
And I hope that they continue with this story that was started in this match by FTR leaving their game plan, leaving their feet, and losing the titles. No, what's their gimmick? What's their tagline? No high flying, just
like fists or something like that.
Yeah, no flying, just fists or something to that effect.
Yeah, right. So I hope that they continue with this story and then that they run it into Tully is like on their ass, like you lost this because you changed your game, and kind of can build upon this and create part 2 and a chase for the titles again, by rebuilding themselves back up. So go ahead.
Can we just appreciate for a moment before Eric that how well AEW uses managers finally?
I can give it 100% on that because WWE forgot about managers after 1995.
We all forgot about them. Now it's like, damn.
Yeah, managers are definitely on their come up again. I feel Tully just in the past few weeks could have been a little more involved. He just seems to stand there 99% of the time and then just do something sneaky here and there. But as far as this match, I'm with Michael as far as performance-wise. 5.25 stars I'll give it on this performance. The back and forth was amazing. The mixing of moves was amazing. The heel tactics of cutting off the ring, the fundamentals, they were all there. And the chemistry between these two teams was fantastic. Where I disagree with you, Brian, and Michael, though, is I think FTR should have took this one. I think it's a little early to pull the belts off of them already.
A little bit.
I I also feel that plays into my earlier conspiracy theory that the elite just want to, hey, we've done our jobs of putting people over. Now it's time for us to hold the gold. And I feel, not to just repeat myself from the last match, but this kind of buried FTR a little bit where they lost clean to an injured tag team. So there is no out for them. It is very clear right down the middle. As far as we can tell, the best tag team in the world is the Young Bucks and kayfabe land, obviously. So I don't see where FTR can go from here. I wish they would have took this match and made the Young Bucks chase them. We can turn it around and make FTR chase the Young Bucks. Maybe turn FTR babyface. I don't want to see that. I think they're fantastic heels. But I'm just a little lost right here of where FTR can go after this loss.
For sure. I felt a little bit bad for FTR because, it was a little short. And, I kind of agree with your conspiracy. To be honest, I don't want Kenny to take the belt off of Mox when that match happens. I don't think it's time yet. I think Moxley's done a really, really great job. But I just got such a soft spot for the Bucks, so it's just hard for me to not want them to win. But, FTR has so much talent, so much potential. They really are arguably the best too. So I'm hoping they have an angle for them. I'm hoping that they continue to stay in the spotlight. But I do think that FTR's main goal when they came to AEW was to make tag team wrestling prominent again. And I think they've accomplished that. And I think they can continue to accomplish that without a belt, hopefully.
I think they're past the point of needing a belt. Unfortunately, I think AEW gave away a few things in this pay-per-view. So we'll start off with Kenny Omega, Don Callis, right? So you had Kenny Omega going into the biggest match of his career so far in AEW. You got Don Callis calling the match his best friend. You have Darby Allin coming out in a car that he lived in and the whole story, and then he has spray painted on there the face of TNT, already preemptively calling himself the face of the network. And then with this Young Bucks match, as soon as they put the stipulation on it that they'll never challenge for the titles again, I knew it was a wrap. Yeah. Like, to me, it kind of gave it away. Because there's nowhere to go with that. So Cody says that he'll never challenge for the title again, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a, quote, mid-card title that he can keep very, very relevant in this TNT belt right now. That's great. He can do that. There's nothing for the tag teams to do that with. So I kind of thought, they put the cart in front of the horse and they gave it away before it was a lock by adding that stipulation to it. If they would have made that stipulation of it the day of, the night of, the moment of the match, something along those lines, and worked it in somehow creatively, like, nope, you want this, somehow the FTR raises the stakes, so they raise the stakes, blah, blah, blah. But they gave it away the week before, 2 weeks before, and I didn't care for that. So I thought they gave it away what was going to happen, and I knew that they had to win because of that. So
Matt Jackson had a little bit of a plan, though, if they did lose, and we're in kayfabe world, so this was, if you could focus in, those are TNT Tag Team Championship.
Oh wow!
He posted on Being the Elite. I guess that was their backup plan if they lost.
Gonna launch new titles.
I love it.
Go back.
But stipulation was weird. Not a fan.
Right, the stipulation was weird, and I think they gave it away too early if they're gonna add the stipulation. But what do I know? So I enjoyed the match. Obviously, Young Bucks mark from the way back, so I'm digging it. I'm happy for it, and we can see where they go with it. I don't necessarily want it to be an old-school Hulk Hogan title belt run feel to it, though, where, it's just they got the belts because it's who they are. I think they deserve it, so hopefully they continue to prove they deserve it is all I'm getting at there.
Mm-hmm. To wrap this up, I know that you guys don't religiously watch Being the Elite, but definitely check out the one, anyone who's watching this, that aired on Monday, because they showed the behind-the-scenes celebration after the Bucks won the belt. And it's a pretty important piece of the whole story with the Elite and Hangman Adam Page in that Monday episode of Being the Elite from the celebration at Full Gear. So I thought that was a really, really strong episode if you guys want to check something out.
Well, there we go. Everybody's got some homework. We'll talk about it next week. We'll go from there. Now, are we on the Sammy Guevara match, or am I all still screwed up in my notes here?
No, this is where we're at. Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, football fuckery part 2 is what I'm gonna go ahead and dub this match.
See, I knew you were gonna hate it just because of where it was at, but this was way better than football fuckery from the.
Oh yeah.
This was better than that, because the football fuckery was just a joke.
I think they needed this. I really think that they needed this to happen. So Eric didn't really like the whole cinematic thing, right?
Any cinematic.
Let's go for a minute on the previous encounters of Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. They had the chair botch where Matt Hardy got like 30 stitches. And then we had the all-out table botch, which really hurt the pay-per-view. And Matt almost died. Yeah, I really think that they needed to take a step back, because there's so much going on between them, and just have like kind of a pre-recorded match so they could kind of slow things down so these guys wouldn't kill each other. That was my opinion coming into this. They can't have another live match because they're just going to do something stupid.
And they still were able to pull that off on pre-recorded. So we're going to.
Yeah.
I thought this was better than the football match, even though I did enjoy that. You can go back into the archives there, people, and check out over there at anchor.fm/KayFabe Smark and listen to our old episodes. I defended that. Eric and I got into there was some heat being thrown back and forth in that argument, but because I thought it was just funny to me. I sat back and let go of I'm watching wrestling and I'm being entertained. I was sports entertained. This one, I thought there was some good and some bad to it as well. So, Eric, let's have you start off with your bad.
All right. Well, I'm not 100% against a location match. What was that? This was so long ago when Brian Pillman broke into someone's house.
Stone Cold.
Yeah. Wow. Now, if we would have went with there's a
flop.
camera crew following Sammy Guevara, and he's gonna break into Matt Hardy's house, and Matt Hardy discovers him, and it turns into a fight, then by all means do an on-location match. But this was just a cartoon TV show from the very minute it opened. We've got Sammy Guevara driving a golf cart to North Carolina. I don't know where he picked up the golf cart. We've
Santana and Ortiz got it for him.
Yeah, they boosted it. I wonder if it belonged to the best friend's mom.
Sue.
But we've got drones, we've got holograms, we've got monster trucks, we've got garbage cans attached to the monster truck, we've got the scepter of Metaflopstates. I was just completely taken out of this match from the very beginning. We're about 20 minutes in, so I'm going to stop right here so you guys can catch up with the positives. But just all these negatives in the first 15 minutes or so, I was pulling my hair out.
Now, I won't say, and I knew you were. I was watching it, and I'm going, Eric is kicking his TV. He probably punched his dog. He's mad right now. But here's the spot where we've had this talk before. So we go back to the football fuckery match, as you like to refer to it as. Remember when they were drowning Matt Hardy, and every time they pulled him up, he was somebody different?
Right.
He was doing his different impersonations, and I was saying that was the throwback to the Lake of Reincarnation. And you're going, well, you only know that because you're a psychopath, and you were yelling at me that because I have to know everything. So I knew that. You didn't know that, right? All this stuff that happened in this match, all that, the drones and the what's his name driving at the end, and Senor Benjamin. All that stuff goes back to when the broken Matt Hardy was created, and the lawnmower was in the pole barn. All that stuff that he did back in Impact when he created and all that broken stuff, when they had those matches at the Hardy compound, is where a lot of that other story was told. So if you didn't watch the Impact matches when those happened,
Who did?
you don't, well, or if you didn't, I didn't necessarily watch them either, but if you paid attention to them post happening right in the YouTube and world and all that stuff, you could catch those jokes of the scepters and the Lake of Reincarnation and Senor Benjamin and the lawnmower that was in the corner and the rocking of chairs and the drone, and all that stuff. So those were all little jokes that if you knew, you knew. So
well,
that
I guess my only counter, and I promise this won't be long-winded, but I don't think AEW reaches their arms out and to embrace a casual fan to bring them in. I think they're happy with their 762,000 fans every week, and obviously for a $50 pay-per-view, they're not expecting casual fans to tune in, so they can do their inside jokes, and I'll give it to them there. But I would say I'm more than a casual fan, but I'm not a hardcore Damascus, Matt Hardy, TNA, whatever he was in, YouTube show. I'm not a hardcore fan there. So I'm just left scratching my head at all these quote unquote inside jokes. And that's what pushes me away from the product. They spend so much time with inside jokes.
Same thing like when they brought back Shane Helms came in and he goes, "It's long-term storytelling," because it's been a couple years since they had another match and had Shane come in. So,
well, I know Shane Helms, so even I chuckle at that one.
No, I'm just saying, but just that, the way that was. But Michael, where were you at on this?
I mean, this was in the beginning. This was for like the hardcore fan that's been following Hardy and all this underground stuff for years, because Eric's right, the casual fan's not going to know what the hell is going on here. I mean, you really had to watch the Impact matches to fully understand it. Then we had Hardy make he made a joke saying competition's in the mud, you love to see it, and that is from the Twitter feed of Brian Alvarez from Wrestling Observer. Every week when he posts the ratings, that everybody comments that. So this was really just an inside joke, to be honest, a big one.
They also
and all the but stepping away from that and getting into the meat of the match, I really enjoyed that firework fight that they had. I loved how AEW, and this is throughout the whole pay-per-view at Full Gear, they did a great job incorporating most of their talent into the show. So while we had Hardy and Guevara fighting in the woods, we went back and there was a match going on between Proud and Powerful and Private Party. They got their moment in the spotlight. Then we saw them go into the Dome of Deletion and lock the door. And then things got serious. Things kind of got taken from, all right, this is an inside joke, this is a comedy match. And it got real serious for me with that ladder, them ripping apart the ring, and then, Hardy hitting Sammy with the same spot that took him out for All Out. I thought, while it was pre-edited, it was some interesting stuff that went on in that dome. And I think that's what really did the match for me. I gave it a thumbs up. I really liked it. But I wasn't expecting much out of this match at all before coming into it. And I was happy. I was fully entertained afterwards. I don't know if it's at the Stadium Stampede level for me, but I think it was definitely better than the Mimosa gimmick match that we had last night. So I'm happy to see it. And, hopefully the feud is over with. But cool. And I think it's just an homage and a shout out to the fans that have been following Hardy for the last 10 years through thick and thin.
Right. I thought that the match became a match when they went inside the, quote, Dome of Deletion. And then they kind of got into more of a match, obviously hardcore. There was already a ladder and a table set up and, it was ready to go. But nonetheless, I thought that's where the match happened. The second match happening with the Private Party and Proud and Powerful was a little weird for me. that they kept fighting, that they didn't follow their guys to protect them that way. But, it comes and goes. The Gangrel appearance was pretty sweet to me because I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously with, the connection between the Hardy Boys and Gangrel and that whole era back in late 90s there, 99, 98, 2000. So, yeah, I like that. Overall, was it a wrestling match? I defend these cinematic matches with saying no, it was not a wrestling match. It was a spot on a show, and you had to sit back and just relax and watch it. So that's where I was at on it.
Yeah, just to touch on what Michael said about the competitions in the mud or whatever, directly after that, Jim Cornette does get a subtle shout out where Matt Hardy tells Sammy to get up. He says, "Sammy, get up, or the old folks will think this is a mud show." And I popped for that.
You're not going to know that unless you listen to Cornette. So you're kind of right.
So yeah, that was an inside joke for me because Cornette says mud show about 33 times every episode. So, but yeah, just a couple technical glitches here. Private Party get on the walkie-talkies and say they're on their way. 5 minutes later, they're still sitting in the truck.
They were a little slow to the reaction, whether it was edited or how they actually drove up to the spot of the match. But yes, it was a little slow on getting that done.
And then one more thing on them. So we assume they're on their way. They've gotten out of the truck. They're coming to the ring. The camera pulls back to a wide shot of the ring, and as clear as day, you've got Private Party standing about 15, 20 feet from the ring with their hands on their hips, just watching the ring or watching the match and enjoying it. And then very next camera shot, they're running through the woods towards the ring. So it was just like, I mean, I get it. They shot this thing just a couple weeks ago. Somebody emailed into Cornette about a week before this pay-per-view, and they were on the set, and this was just a huge production. There was about 400 people on set. You weren't allowed to look Rebby Hardy in the eye. You weren't allowed to talk to her unless she spoke to you first.
What, is she crazy?
I guess she's like that. She has a reputation of that anyway.
Sounds like Hillary.
And everyone, all 400 people who were involved, all got double queen bed hotel rooms, and this email was sent in a week before the match, so that's why I believe it, because every spot that happened was on there. The firework fight, all that. So this was a huge production, and they didn't have much time to edit it, but just those little things I almost find funny there because I'm a cynical asshole, I guess. But to go to the firework war, Brian and I know a little bit about that. We have a friend named Joey, good friend of the show, and has a big backyard and a lot of fireworks every 4th of July. And we always get in a Roman candle fight. All of us get about 25 or 30 sticks of Roman candles, and we
go till they're gone.
This isn't playing for us, man. We go to war. We're shooting at each other's eyeballs. And so when Brian and I see Matt Hardy with his big Roman candles just shooting them at 45-degree angles into the sky, it's like we're a couple of old 38, 37-year-old marks, and even we shoot each other in the face with them.
He did come in a little hotter when they finally had him when Guevara was in the mud and on the ground. Like, then he kind of, like, the camera was on him and he couldn't, like, do, like, the long shot anymore where it was, like, uncontrollable. So he just kind of lit him up, and you saw Sammy kind of flinched and sold it, but, you know.
Yeah, I edited a shot for that and put the Saving Private Ryan logo. It's just Sammy getting lit up. But they had a full gear themed ring at the party coming out. So yeah, you're right, Eric. That must have cost a lot.
Heck of a
this was a huge production.
So kind of to wrap it all up, if you were to ask me to rate this on being a wrestling match, you know, I got to give it a 2. If you were to sit there and you're asking me to rate it on being entertained, I'll give it like a 7. So
I give it a thumbs up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll give it a thumbs. If you're asking me, was I entertained? Yes. If you're asking me, was it a great wrestling match? I'm gonna have to say no. But we'll go from there. So, one more question before we move on I forgot about Sammy's spot on his head, the gash after he took that spear type move off into the table. Think that was a legit gash, or you think that was a edited in there type spot?
And he probably bladed.
I wasn't sure because the way that he took it, the camera was on the other side of the ring, right? So they went off into.
Yeah.
So I envisioned crash pads but the ref had gloves on, so they at least had that part of it down for consistency in the story.
Yeah, they made it look believable. But I guess just to nitpick on one more thing to go way back, weren't we promised a year and a half ago or so that this was going to be a sports-based competition company, and then we end up with football fuckery and then this thing? So that's where it kind of takes me away. But Cody Rhodes did recently, when he was asked about this, he kind of backpedaled a bit, and he said, well, let me clarify, my matches I'm involved in will have more of a real feel, a sports type presentation feel.
Unfortunately, I think that's still the plan. Unfortunately, I think the COVID, it's been an excuse running now for 7-8 months, but these matches became popular because of this. Well, and it's still going on, right? So they have the opportunity to put them on and to do this. So, they WWE went nuts with them for a minute and made them popular. People like it, and you kind of got to give them what they want.
I can agree with you there. Yeah,
I wouldn't say I just when the world does change and evolve back into quote normal life, maybe they're gonna go away. I don't think you can do these so much in front of live TV or live audiences.
Yeah, you don't want to do that when you sell live tickets.
It's in front of that live audience. So
Cody said, and what Eric brought up, I think Cody also said that he kind of regretted promising the whole sports-based thing. And I think Tony has touched upon that too. And I think that's one of their biggest mistakes. They should never have said that. We have the whole ranking system. That's nice and everything. But, I like what they're doing. I'm a fan of this. I don't need like a full sports-based promotion. If I want to do that, I'll go watch New Japan or MMA. It's kind of always talked about by people critical of AEW. Thought it was sports-based. This is what you said. Why'd you say that? You should just not have said that and done whatever you wanted to and just done what people like. I don't know. That's my soapbox right there.
There you go.
Just one question to touch on that, Michael. Have you checked out any recent episodes of Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I watched the Pure tournament. It was great.
Yeah, and I guess that's the kind of sports presentation I'm talking about. I don't need straight up MMA, but you see the statistics they put on the screen.
Yeah, the tail of the tape. It's nice. Yeah.
Tail of the tape. They have like, why am I drawing the name on the Macho Man guy? Jay Lethal.
Jay
Lethal has won 10 out of his last 11 matches against this guy, or
statistics.
What's his face, Finley. Every time he wrestles in Pittsburgh, he wins. Something like that, and it's just it gives it a little more real feel. That's all I'm saying. I don't need 100% Joe Rogan MMA on this.
Oh yeah.
But there's a big fat gray area between cartoon and real sports, and I like to dance in the middle there.
I agree with that. The Pure tournament was really nice. So we kind of sunk Ring of Honor a little bit ago, but definitely go check that out because that kind of made them on the up and up. But I will shout out one of the best people in the wrestling community, Chris Samsa of Sport of Pro Wrestling. He's officially hired as the statistician for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Go check out that website when you have a minute and click the all-time AEW rankings, because unlike the rankings that AEW posts on their site, Chris Samsa actually breaks down like time in the ring, number of holds, attempts, and he has a full list of the whole company ranks. So it's really interesting to look at that to see who actually is the top based on ability, not just maybe a kayfabe ranking system.
And where can we check that out again?
sportofprowrestling.com. This statistician is Chris Samsa, and he has I think New Japan, WWE, and AEW rankings, and it's cool. It's an authentic system.
That sounds extremely interesting. I'm a numbers nerd, and I think I'll be lost in that for a while.
Yeah, it's a whole spreadsheet.
All right. Well, there you go. Eric can go read his Excel spreadsheet and get all his numbers in line. Next match up is this, according to my notes, but my notes have been wrong earlier, so MJF Jericho.
Got it.
All right.
I drank a really big Gatorade, so I'm going to take a 30-second bathroom break.
No problem. While you're doing that, we'll talk about, make sure you head on over to the KayFabe Smark on all social media again. Subscribe on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell there. Join us on Facebook, the KayFabe Smark, and then on Instagram, the KayFabe Smark over there. So working on that. Make sure you go follow Michael, AEW News 1 on Instagram there. AEW News 1 _. Nonetheless, you'll find him. Good guy. Posts a lot. Got some videos now that he's doing. He's a good guy. I like hanging out with him and talking pro wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. And once he gets back, we'll dig into, this is a pretty highly anticipated match. You've got probably the biggest heel from the beginning of the AEW era going up against the number one heel in the current AEW era. So yeah, this was a highly sought after match. Not necessarily on these terms, but I think a lot of people were, chomping at the bit to see these two go at it.
Yeah, this was a good one. This was one that people were waiting for. MJF Jericho. I love the entrance. Michael's back with us, so we'll just start tearing it apart. As you get the flashing Christmas light jacket thing going on there. And with the back to the crowd and the arms extended out, and it's MJF wearing a knockoff Jericho jacket. I thought that was pretty cool. The gimmick to this thing was still weird for me. He's mocking Jericho. He's fighting Jericho. But if he wins, he gets to hang out with Jericho, and Jericho wants him to be his buddy after he beats him up, in a sense. But if Jericho can beat him up, you can't be my friend. Right?
Yeah, this goes back to, we talked about this last week, of why is entrance into the inner circle even a thing anymore? And the only logical explanation I have left is our conspiracy theory on this one, that MJF's going to get in, kick Chris Jericho out, and turn Jericho babyface.
Yeah, I agree.
That was our what we've been basing this whole thing on here over the last couple weeks. So, all right, let's start talking about this. We had MJF Jericho telling the story. What'd you think of it, Eric? Where you at?
Both of these guys extremely talented. They're great performers. They work well together. They have good chemistry. Chris Jericho, I think he just needs almost an intervention or a pep talk or something, because he could not keep up with MJF. MJF was having to wait around for him sometimes. Jericho was winded a lot of the time, and I think the match itself suffered a little bit, just because I understand Jericho's 51 years old, but if you're going to be performing in main event level matches, you got to work on your cardio a little bit,
I can agree with that. Michael, what are your thoughts on the start of this match and beginning portions?
Yeah, he's getting up there, and I think he might need to tone it back a little bit, because he is having trouble keeping up with people. And the way he's remedied that in the past is, and he's done this especially in New Japan, he reinvented himself. He got kind of bigger, a little bit slower, but he became more hard hitting, more slowing down the pace of the match and grounding. So I think he needs to be clear in his communication with his opponents that this is what we're doing, because Eric was right. MJF was kind of running circles around him, and it didn't look that great. And this has happened with Jericho's last couple of matches. He's not really the level of threat that he used to be. And it's kind of sad to see that. But I thought this match started out a little slow. It wasn't really flowing for me. I couldn't really get into it. And I don't know if anyone else agrees with this, but it just didn't click with me. And I wasn't a big fan of this one.
I wasn't a big fan going into it, to be honest with you. I like both guys. I'm a Jericho Mark from way back, MJF Mark from a year ago, because I just kind of met him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it was just, again, it was weird, as Eric and I were talking about. Why would I want to be your friend if you beat me up, and you can't be my friend if I beat you up? And it's a weird stipulation in the match. None of it makes sense. Now let's talk about, you guys talk about Jericho being slower and making him look older here. Do you think there's a long chess game going on here, a long play of them using that in the story that we've made up in our heads of MJF pushing out Jericho to be the new young guy?
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. It's a plot that makes sense. So just to touch on being cynical again, probably won't happen.
I knew you were gonna go there and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They should roll with that. It won't happen. I don't know. It was just a thought that as I was watching this, things that popped in my head. But I agree. I watched the match. It was what it was. The ending was pretty cool. I think they definitely Jericho took one from his buddy Eddie Guerrero in coming up with the ending with the catch the bat, lay on the ground. And then I like that he even cheated to win. So MJF, they even gave I think it was JR gave Eddie Guerrero, said a little lie, cheat, and steal to get in to win your matches. So it was, he even got a handful of trunks there at the end, or the tights, or his jeans, or his leather pants, or whatever Jericho was wearing tonight. So I enjoyed that. I like some entertaining cheating, and some dirty play, some dirty pool, because there was nothing on the line but the story of joining the inner circle. So go ahead.
Yeah, at least there was something on the line, though.
But go ahead.
This match would have been worse if there wasn't.
Right, but I'm saying is go ahead and cheat for that. Don't when titles go over dirty like that. Sometimes it bugs me. So I wasn't about that.
Yeah.
But this was to get into the inner circle. So yeah, sure, cheat, whatever. What the hell? Now you can be friends with the guy you did a song and dance with, but then you want to have a fight with. So.
Well, I think the actual wrestling in the match, that's what kind of turned me off. To kind of go against what you said, I actually thought this was kind of a cool storyline, because to me it was like a sensei and the young grasshopper, and to finally gain the respect of the master, you have to beat him in his own game, and they're still going to be friends afterwards, because it was a fight, but they're still going to be friends afterwards.
I can agree with that. I think the only thing that this throws me out of this, that took me away from it, was that stupid song and dance number.
Oh, I liked it.
That song and dance thing pulled me out of it, because they can have their intellectual debates. When Eric Bischoff came out, they can have their fights and they can have their whatever. And hey, cool, you proved it to me. But what the fuck, that song and dance shit, that could have hit the bricks. I didn't care for that. I can't defend that at all. So, but the match was happened, and now we've got MJF in the inner circle.
And they're going to Vegas.
Going to Vegas. Sammy almost didn't get to go.
Right. That touches, just to touch on the song and dance thing again, that goes to Jericho is obviously nearing the end of his career here, and this is just a blow off to him. At least that's the vibe it gets off, and nobody has the balls in that company to tell Jericho no. So none of us are even approaching Jericho's age and how long he's been in the business. So we don't know what he's feeling right now, but I find it kind of unprofessional to do a blow off thing like the song and dance number, or like the mimosa match. I find it very irresponsible to do something that everybody knows in their logical brain isn't exactly the best thing for the company or to grow the company. So that's where I'm disappointed in Jericho. Also, that Jericho bent over backwards to put over Orange Cassidy. but
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
MJF had to cheat to get this win. And MJF, out of anybody in this company, deserves to be put over by Jericho, I think.
I think you can
Mhm.
stretch and change the cheating angle that it wasn't cheating to beat Jericho, it was cheating to join the inner circle. Is
Yeah,
the way I looked
all
at
on
it.
the line.
So just
And he said that he was gonna, do anything that it took.
right.
So I guess he did that.
That's that. Well, anybody got anything else before we jump on to the main event?
Ooh, we got some juicy stuff.
No, I'm good on this match.
All right, main event, Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley. Who wants to lead it off here, Eric? Where are you at? It was a gimmick match, so we knew it could be a lot of tomfoolery and fuckery, so at least they let us into knowing that to start with.
His CZW mud show bullshit.
Yeah.
No, it's just I like the history behind this match. These two, obviously, they've got a history together. Obviously, there's tension between them. It feels real with Eddie Kingston just because he is so goddamn talented with that microphone. And but when it comes down to the match itself, let's face it, man, Eddie Kingston should be on the sidelines. That beer gut's embarrassing. He's out there moving like Jericho. I don't think he belonged in the main event here. I love the history behind it. I love the heat between the two, but the match suffered. It just was forced to become a typical Jon Moxley gimmick match.
We'll just touch on and keep rolling here with what you said about Eddie Kingston. I like Eddie Kingston. I like him on the mic talking. As for his wrestling and in-ring abilities so far, not completely sold on all of that yet. His ring gear, Eddie needs to be...
that can kick rocks.
That can kick rocks. Eddie needs to wrestle in basically what he does his promos in.
No, that's for his hero, Masawa.
Hey, listen. He's not that guy, though.
I know.
So
yeah,
he's wearing kick pads. He didn't throw a kick.
Well,
So-
he's been training to do that. I don't know why he didn't.
Do you get what I'm
Hold
like?
on, real quick, I got to shoehorn this in. Masawa, really bad match. Hey.
I just thought that I have in here in his note that Eddie doesn't need ring gear like that. He just needs like jeans and a t-shirt, streetwear. He needs to be that guy. I'm from New York. Like Moxley wrestles in a pair of camo pants. Like what I'm getting at is there's no consistency in his branding of Eddie Kingston. He's in jeans and a t-shirt and his hat, real gangster, barely half on his head, balancing on there. He's got the two lines shaved in his eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? He's
John Cena.
Comes out looking street, and then he comes into the ring and he's got kick pads on and the independent wrestler shorts that go down to his ankles, and then a singlet underneath that flatters his non-flattering body. Listen, I wouldn't tell this to him because I think this is a guy that I would really fear. Like, I would talk shit to some wrestlers and be like, go fuck yourself. Eddie kind of scares me a little bit still. I still feel there's a little bit of gangster right inside of Eddie Kingston. So I think he would
You get that New Jack vibe off of him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it for me, Eric. So, but I think for his brand, he needs to come out and be who he is doing his promos, and I think he could wrestle in some gear that is aligned that way and that would accent and complement to who he really is. The kick pads and the bright green colors was a big whoa, wait, who the hell's this guy? It was too different for me. As for the match itself, it was a lot of gaga. And that helped cover up, for the lack of wrestling that there was going to be. There's just a lot of barbed wire bats were stored under the ring because that's where you got to keep them.
Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, whatever you want to call him, obviously he was in WWE for a reason. The guy's extremely talented. He does know how to wrestle. He was trained in NXT. Am I wrong here for saying I want to see a gimmick match where
the gimmick is no gimmick?
The gimmick is that there's no gimmicks. No chairs, no barbed wire, no baseball bats. You keep your ass in the ring. We're doing a 5 count outside the ring. You know what I'm saying? Something to that effect.
We'll call it
just to remind me of who John Moxley is. Well, I guess this is who he is, but I want to see that he can actually wrestle.
Yeah, everything needs a name, right? So we'll call it the Chris Candido No Gimmicks Needed match, and you can roll from there.
Lance Storm can be special guest referee.
Right, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yeah, man, I don't know. It was guys beating each other up with barbed wire bats, and everything and anything in between. So, Michael, where were you standing on a lot of this?
I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, actually, like wrestling encyclopedia. But another thing to shout out, you want to see a Moxley match where there's no gimmicks and him just wrestling, go order the Bloodsport pay-per-view that he wrestled in like a month ago.
Yeah.
That was a shoot wrestling match against Chris Dickinson. And that was really Moxley at the best, and yeah, really, really impressed with his wrestling there. In terms of Eddie, but it seems like every time he's in AEW, he's like the hardcore guy.
It's like a CZW match, yeah.
Yeah, and let me just say this: no hardcore belt in AEW. I don't want that to happen. It's stupid.
Correct.
But for the match, I know it's politically correct, and we shouldn't really comment on wrestlers' body types. That's like a thing now in the internet wrestling community. You're not supposed to do that. But I for one am of the same school of thought that you guys are. I think if you're on national television, you're on a pay-per-view, you're a pro wrestler, you really should put some effort into the look. I think they have a big problem with that. I think Eddie, really needs to trim up a little bit and put on some muscle. Same with like Marco Stunt, pick up a fucking weight. I mean, come on here. Like you're not, it's embarrassing. And it just seems like he wasn't really conditioned for this match, and they had to pick it up with a lot of the hardcore aspects, and that's quite sad because Eddie has got everything. He's got the look most of the time. He's got the talk. He's amazing on promos. He's got an awesome squad behind him. Just think he needs to just put a little bit more effort into the look and his in-ring abilities. But as for the match, some crazy spots, the rubbing alcohol. We saw Eddie reach into the bat and pick up the barbed wire, which is kind of brutal. And then, at the end, when these guys basically killed each other, you ended up feeling bad for Eddie. He was almost in tears. So he got himself over here, in my opinion. And I think he can be a top babyface in the company, but now's not the time. But kudos to both guys because, they really show a lot of heart and a lot of toughness, and I really appreciated them leaving it all out on the line.
I cannot disagree with you at all. I think that the story was told great. Eddie Kingston, the guy climbed his way up from the bootstraps. He didn't go to the land of entertainers. He didn't do all that stuff, and he's kind of getting his come-ups and then getting his nod, and he lost. And I think that does nothing but positive moves for an Eddie Kingston because he can take that and, if you will, as and Scott Hall it, if you will. Scott Hall was famous for doing the losing at a pay-per-view and then on Monday going, I didn't lose.
Yeah, and that's what he says. He always says, I didn't lose. I didn't tap out.
So Scott Hall would just change that. He just say he didn't lose. That was just like his gimmick, and he just pretend that he won, and that made him too cool for the room. And Eddie Kingston has that capability too, where he can just still come out and talk shit and be like, all right, so you beat me. Go fish. Do it again. Do it this way. Put it in a cage. Do it with my buddies in the ring with me. Like he'll just keep coming at you, and I think he can make this work for him, so he didn't get buried. Everybody wants to say when somebody loses these days that they're buried.
Yeah, no one gets the real definition of that.
I don't think you get buried. Yeah. Some guys do get buried, and they get lost. I don't think
lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce. That's our. If we're gonna make merchandise, that'll be our first shirt, Eric. Lost in the sauce. But somebody has to lose, right? And then the right guy lost to tell the story of the frustrations of not having the golden spoon, being as. And everything behind him that John Moxley has behind him. What are your any more thoughts
Well,
on this, Eric?
just to touch on that immediate thought that you just said, you hit the nail on the head that the right guy lost.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we knew that going in.
Because here's
that-
the other thing, though, not to cut you off, but the right guy lost. But if Eddie Kingston would have won, the wrong guy would have lost, and the right guy would, and the wrong guy would have won. Like it would have been two wrongs.
Nobody could see Eddie Kingston walking out of there the champion, the face of the company, the number one guy in the company couldn't be the Eddie Kingston that we had on Saturday night.
Not yet. We'll go from there.
Right. Maybe a little bit of work it could have been, but again, just to take it to logic based, thinking with the baseball bat, I kind of come from that point of view where don't have a baseball bat in the ring if you're not going to use the baseball bat. Let's just take this out of the kayfabe world and take it into the real world. He could have beat Eddie Kingston's kneecaps and ankles with that belt until he screamed, "I quit." But instead, he puts the baseball bat down, takes the barbed wire, wraps it around his arm, puts him in the I'm drawing a blank, the Moxley move, and just
Bulldog choke.
Yeah, the bulldog choke, and just with barbed wire pressed against him, Eddie Kingston is forced to quit. I would have liked to see that baseball bat get utilized in a more realistic way.
I can agree with that. I thought that they could have used some decent run-ins too. Not a lot, not hanging out, not changing the course of the match and finishing the match, but Eddie had his run-through with guys leading up to this, right? He was choking out everybody in his path kind of leading up to this as it's been going through, so could have had some of these guys make their special appearances there, and you could have had, Seattle Miero and Ray Phoenix make a run-ins and some appearances through this too. So I thought there's some stuff they could have spiced it up with some more storytelling and evolving in this story. But overall, the match was exactly what you were led to believe: an I Quit match with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston coming out of their hardcore roots and beating the shit out of each other for 20 minutes or whatever it was.
And because it was for the championship, it had to be the main event. But I think Michael will agree with me on this one. There's a few matches that we feel should have main evented this card. This one wasn't it.
You could have opened with this and ended with Kenny and Hangman. So,
or shake it up a little bit. Put the tag match as the main event.
Oh, I would have loved that. I am the biggest FTR mark out there.
I think that's how you change the game.
I can't disagree with any of that. So, well, we have been talking for a long time, guys. I don't even know if we're gonna have time to get into the follow-up show unless you want to do a quick one on it.
If you want to do a rundown, I unfortunately was unable to catch it, but I'd like to see your quick take on it. Your hot take.
Hot take. Michael, do you have notes on the Wednesday show? You watched it.
I wrote the newsletter for it, and I have it up here if you want me to, go through it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and start us off. I'll pull up my
Sure.
notes on it, and we'll go from there. So,
we had Team Taz come out, trying to put over Brian Cage a little bit because, as we said, he was getting kind of overshadowed by Ricky Stark. So he said Brian Cage is going to wrestle. None other than Matt Sydal. Pretty good match between the both of them to open up Dynamite. We saw Cage kind of be more than just a big monster heel. Some really athletic moves, some kind of lucha libre-esque. We saw Cage catch Matt Sydal in mid-air and landed his drill claw finisher and got the pinfall victory to start out Dynamite. So pretty impressive from Brian Cage. Nice performance by him.
Yes, the match itself was actually pretty good. You looked at it and just pure size-wise, it would take a lot for you to believe that Matt Sydal is going to beat Brian Cage, but they told the story well of how it was going to go down. The lead into the match was weird. I think Taz thought that he could just wing this promo leading into the match, and it was a little rough. I think he got a little lost in where he was going with it, but nonetheless, they brought it home in the match itself, but the lead into that was a little confusing. So then we go, and then What's the next match on this? This is all out of whack here.
We had the bunkhouse match between Butcher and the Blade versus the National Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. So this is, I guess, an homage to Dusty Rhodes in his WCW days.
Yes.
This was a Western style hardcore match, and it was very, between the hardcore match on Full Gear and this one, probably go with this one.
This was bloody. Wednesday's bunkhouse match was bloody. They beat the hell out of each other, and to continue on with that, telling that story of those and the credit card bills that Bunny ran up on QT Marshall.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and watch that one. I liked Dustin Rhodes' promo on the pay-per-view promoting this match between them.
Yeah, actually using a microphone.
I've been a fan of Butcher and Blade since they came in because of their roughhouse, tough guy, performances in the ring.
Yes. All right, let's talk about this here real quick. I know you didn't watch it, Eric. I don't know if you saw anything online about it. Did you see that Cody Rhodes promo thing that happened?
I did not.
Michael, what the hell was that about?
It's a weird promo, but definitely all eyes are on Jade Cargill, newly signed AEW talent, came out as the spokesman for a monster that is going to take out Cody Rhodes. And that monster is none other than Shaquille O'Neal, who has he wants to go fight Cody and be on TNT. So that's apparently the next feud. We're not getting Cody versus MJF, which Cody said he wanted to do. We're getting Shaq.
Well, goddamn, I thought all Shaq's kids were grown, man. He must still have some big-ass child support payments out there where
Eric,
he wants to do this.
This thing was the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen. I mean, God bless her. She tried.
She tried her best, and I'm glad to hear her.
She's fresh off the indies. She's done some AEW dark stuff, whatever. And they threw her a microphone and said, go cut a promo on Cody Rhodes on live TV, national TV, worldwide TV at this point.
Yeah,
this thing's
crazy.
She was a little nervous. She was a little shaky. You could hear it in her voice. It was very robotic in the speaking. And then, to top off the douchiness scale, as she's getting ready to go into the tunnel. Now, mind you, she's back and forth with Cody for 5 minutes or so. She works her way back down the ramp. She's standing at the tunnel, and then guess who makes an appearance coming out of the other end of the other tunnel? Brandy.
Oh, God. She has to be involved in everything, doesn't she?
She did cut a good promo. She kind of saved this segment.
I
don't know. She yelled at her. She was like, don't ever talk to my man like that again.
She did. But Eric, the worst part is she was trying to be Hood.
Brandy
had that Hood slang to her. She was trying to be like, oh no, don't blah 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 blah, and she's like doing the head shake and yanking the mic. It was the point of this. It saved it for me that she came out and with some attitude, because what's Cody supposed to do? Cut a promo back on this chick that he has never seen before, like hit her. You know what I'm saying? Like, so at least Brandy can get involved and maybe make it somewhat physical is what saved it. But this attitude Brandy had was a totally different. It was weird, and it didn't fit for the moment. But that was oof.
I mean, it could be a whole new whole episode on its own of my the bad taste Brandy Rhodes leaves in my mouth with, wanting to be involved in everything and switching her gimmick every 5 minutes to try and be relevant. But yeah, that is hilarious to me, to go from basically Hillary Clinton to Big Swole and a switcheroo like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see, as bad as it was, I can see Michael's point of view where at least she came out and tried and, saved the segment from being even more embarrassing,
I can agree with that.
Well, this will be a ratings draw. We know that whenever he does come out, which I'm not really too excited about it. I could go without it.
Could care
It seems
less.
like a Vince Russo move.
Yes.
Jumping the shark.
Which, that Arquette movie that just came out is a must-see.
Yes, I'm going to put the belt on David Arquette again and finish out.
He's fully redeemed himself now. He was ranked on PWI. Crazy.
Yeah. And then you get a little promo thing with the party, the celebration party with MJF and Jericho went down. They tried to have streamers and balloons fall from the arena for Jericho's surprise birthday party, and the wind, and there was like a storm blowing in, and all the balloons fell and all the streamers came down. They went. And
they said, what a way to waste $10,000.
That's what JR even goes, and there was another botched surprise or another good plan gone way wrong. We could have used that money in catering.
See, that's where I say JR, man. He's getting bored. He's getting old. He's getting ornery, and his old school mentality comes out a little bit here and there.
So they continue on with this. MJF states that he's taking everybody to Vegas next week, but previously, before that even happened, Jericho had the Inner Circle come out, and he goes, "Where's Sammy? I talked to him. He's out of the hospital." And everybody went, "Oh, we don't know where Sammy's at." They do the whole party. They give out the tickets. They go backstage, and then Sammy makes his appearance, and he says he got the wrong email, was told to go to the wrong place by MJF, that he didn't get the second email of where to really be. Everybody else said they got 2. He only got 1. And so now there's just that tension between MJF and Sammy Guevara. So first he gets no jacket, then he gets the big jacket, then he gets the wrong email, but he does get a ticket to Vegas.
And we will see what happens next week with that.
Yes.
Live from Vegas. It seems like in a pandemic. I don't really know what they're going to do, but have fun with that.
Right. What did you think, Michael, of this Shawn Spears Scorpio Sky match?
I thought this was good that they got put on the card because it's 2 guys that I believe are a little bit underutilized, underrated. I'm a big fan of the chairman, Shawn Spears. And Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky's got 28 wins, so he's no joke. But it was a good, solid match, and I thought that there were some good spots. Sky got slammed on the entrance stairs. He hit a TKO on Spears. Some good back and forth. We had Tully come in, hand over the slug. Spears connected, knocked him out, got the pinfall victory. But he cheated, so hopefully we're going to still have some more build-up for this, and they're going to get a feud started and another match. So
okay.
Open-ended, it was good.
In that sense, the way you explained it, I like that match for those reasons. What I didn't like the match for is if this was the only match we get, and that's how Scorpio Sky is represented.
No, that better not happen, or people are going to freak out.
Right, because Scorpio Sky deserves more than that. So if this is going to be something where it's a long-term chess move, then hey, I'm all in and can agree with that.
Yep.
Kenny Omega says that it's going to be the biggest. What is it going to be? That he's never really fought Jon Moxley one-on-one. It's always been gimmick matches essentially, and that it's going to be the biggest AEW Dynamite in history when it happens. And didn't they give a date? Or did they pick one, Michael?
December 2nd.
Yes, I knew it was. I thought it was December. So December 2nd's the date.
I hope they do limited commercials for that. And, Kenny, that was a little interesting because, they did have that unsanctioned match at Full Gear. So I guess that didn't really count. So it's the first time that they're meeting. They, I don't think Kenny's going to win on December 2nd. I think they're going to run the clock and we're going to have some build up for the next pay-per-view. It's too big of a match. And, one of the best champion in AEW history, Jon Moxley, has been booked perfectly. They're not going to have him drop the belt on Dynamite. That's a little bit of an insult.
I can agree with that. So evidently it's going to be on a Dynamite, Eric, that they're going to have this match that they've been fighting for. I thought it was just going to be pushed right to a pay-per-view.
Yeah, Revolution, but it's 4 months away,
Yeah, I can't see Moxley dropping it on a Wednesday night.
No.
But just to disagree with Michael here for a moment, Jericho is a better champion than Mox.
I don't know. I'm a Mox guy. He's like my hero.
Then you got Tay Conte or Tay Tante, is it whatever, versus Red Velvet. I don't know. I didn't care. That match bored me like dramatically. That was a 15-second flipper for me.
I'm a big fan of Tay. I like her a lot. My girlfriend hates her because I got an autographed picture of her and I put it on my memorabilia wall. She hates staring. Yeah, nothing real special in this match. I guess the only takeaway was Anna Jay at ringside tried to throw in a chair for Tay to cheat, and she's the whole Dark Order, and Tay said no, I'm gonna win cleanly. So Anna Jay has invited Tay to join the Dark Order. Still hasn't gotten an answer yet. So I guess we're getting some long-term storytelling, maybe a rift between them and an eventual match.
Yes. And then the match of the night, I was actually leading into this, was pretty, I don't want to say mad. It didn't ruin my day, but it was like, okay, we're getting this again. So we get Penta and Rey Fenix taking on each other in the main event.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like the match? You didn't like that they had it go again?
I didn't like the match. I didn't like the whole demasking thing. I think that's insulting.
Well, it didn't get fully demasked, but Eric, they went to town on each other's masks.
Yeah.
I actually did see a clip of that on TikTok or Instagram or something like that. And I'm going to agree with Michael here. I thought that was, a little disrespectful. The mask is your identity. You don't take the mask off and just to waste it. If you're going to do it,
You didn't
do
get
it, make it a big deal of it. But these two
They didn't get it fully
they're fighting
revealed.
again.
They didn't get it fully revealed, but nonetheless, they went to town.
I don't want
on
to
that.
see their faces.
But what I really liked about it was the story that was being told on commentary with our boy that we just went to town on talking about, Mr. Eddie Kingston. So he came out and said he cut a promo essentially on the crowd, I think is the best way to word that. He came out and cut a promo on the crowd saying, well, just you guys would do this and you'd quit. I said I quit the match. I didn't quit the business. I'm not going nowhere. And blah, 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 and kind of said, you guys would quit if you went through what I went through, but I'm still here, and I'm going to go through this. Now I'm going to watch my best friends beat the hell out of each other. Then he went to commentary, and he does a great job on there. He's telling the story, and he had to have said, my best friend, Penta, 1,000 times. I mean,
Does Penta even speak English? How are they best friends?
Just
I don't get that.
sold the best friends over and over, and that's my best friend. That's my best friend. And I think Penta, I talked Rey Fenix out of going on in the tournament, in the Eliminator tournament, to give to Penta because he was injured. But I thought Penta could have been the guy to take out Kenny and my best friend and my best friend. It was an interesting story, and then they beat the hell out of each other. They went to town, and then Eddie Kingston comes in. Penta wins. Eddie Kingston comes in. He's like, you did it. You're the best. You're my best friend. And then he goes over to Rey Fenix, and he goes, hey, you did a good job too. And he gives him a boot and rolls him out of the ring. As he's laying
kicks
on his
him
back.
out.
So that was pretty interesting little story being told there in this long game. But then the Bastard Pack makes his appearance again. And because that, now correct me if I'm wrong, before the world went to shit, it was the Lucha Bros and Pac had created that little group, right?
Death Triangle.
The Death Triangle. So that was
Yes, I was pumped about Death Triangle.
So he comes in and Lucha Bros had nothing to do with it, and then he was after Eddie Kingston for probably tearing this team apart. There's a story that's going to be told. The thing I hated is the keeping the wrestlers apart. I don't know how you felt about that, Michael, watching it. You had two wrestlers. You had Pat come down in his ring gear, right?
Yeah, let him go at him.
He comes down out. Eric, he's got his armbands on. He's in a pair of panties. He's ready to rock. He's got his wrestling boots laced up to his knees. And as soon as he gets in the ring, there's 5,000 referees and 10,000 independent wrestlers holding them all back. Won't let Eddie at him. Won't let Pac at Eddie. Eddie at Pac. Nothing. And you're going, it's a wrestling match.
Right. This isn't a freaking bomb threat here.
So, but the story being told there is an interesting one, and again, makes me want to, come back and check out what they're going to do and evolve with this. So I think
Definitely.
Eddie can tell a story, and I'm hoping that he has some influence in telling a long story too, and some long game into this, and it's not just like a made up on the spot weekly. But if it is, he's doing a hell of a job. But hopefully, there's being some time being put into it.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it. I think it's definitely a show worth checking out, Eric. So make sure you go ahead and pop that on the old DVR tomorrow night or something.
Definitely.
Peruse that one. Well worth watching. But that is it. That was AEW this week. We had the Full Gear. We had the follow-up show. We didn't dive in too deep into Wednesday's show, but you know what? Go back and rewatch it. You can watch it, and we'll talk more about it probably next week as we go over our regular wrestling reviews and talking and how the storylines have continued on. But last round of plugs here. Head on over to AEW News 1 on Instagram. Follow Michael over there. Always lots of great content. Follow us, the KayFabe Smark on Instagram, Facebook, and go over to YouTube, like and subscribe, and notification bells over there. When we don't have technical difficulties, we try to stream these live and stay consistent with that. But nonetheless, share it with a friend, and let's talk some wrestling. Eric, you got a plug or anything you want to tell people where to go?
As always, you can catch me over on Instagram on my personal account. That is, oh yeah, it's Eric. That's all one word. And also, if you're on TikTok and you're into big, chubby, snoring pit bulls, you can catch my dog Stella and I on TikTok. Our name over there is Stella.hates.Eric.
There you go. Michael, you got anything to plug out before we go? How do people can join your newsletter or anything like that you spoke about?
Yeah, I got a newsletter where every week I send out ratings and a full breakdown of all the matches on Dynamite. So if you want to subscribe to that newsletter, send me a DM message at AEW News 1 _, and we'll get you sent out, get you set up for that. You guys should definitely join it because it's pretty well written, and I try my best to get it out pretty quickly. Also, news for me, I have created a Facebook group called Samurai News. Please join that. This is a subsidiary of my AEW News 1 brand, but here we're covering all things Pure Oriso. So New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT, Stardom, all that good stuff. Trying to get a discussion over there going on the Facebook. So please check me out on those avenues. And I really appreciate the support. And thank you guys for letting me come on again. I really have fun doing this.
Oh, well, we will have you back again. There's no question about that, because adding a new face and some new voices to the story always helps for great conversation. So, Eric, you want to take us out of here?
I think all we have left to say is hooty hoo, we out the gates.